Oh, there's so much going on. I mean, I got new parts on my laptop.
I've got like 8 new things of the day.
There's like a bunch of things of the day and newses and everything's so great. We got loads of show material, but we're not going to use any of it. Nope,
Nah, not
nothing.
at all.
Nope. We're holding on to everything. All the cards are firmly planted against the chest. Today is yet another day of Ask Rim and Scott Week.
Listen to, I don't know, Tuesday, October 16th or Monday, October 15th. And even if you don't like, I don't know, computers or video games or any of that, I'd say listen to them anyway because we've been getting more feedback about these episodes than from freaking anything else.
Yep, all this week and perhaps even another week in the future, we are going to just answer listener questions, and that's all we're going to do. And basically, some of the rules about this. First of all, we are not going to give credit to who asked the question.
So none of that Joey Jojo Shabadoo writes.
First of all, that takes up a lot of time. And second of all, that really can affect the psychology of how we answer the question. So we just got rid of that. And second of all, we're just gonna, I don't know, answer the questions perfectly literally.
Well, that's been Scott's thing.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people ask questions, and it's obvious what they're really asking. But if I answer the question literally, it's just yes or no, and then that's not what they want, so.
Now, also, we're doing this from pieces of paper. We don't have any, screens open in front of us. We're kind of running it like it's a radio talk show and people just called in and asked these questions. Other than going through quickly to make sure everything in the list was actually a question, we didn't even read them ahead of time.
Nope. So, shall we begin? Because yesterday and the day before, it was like we only got through half the questions.
And I believe we're going to get through half the questions, if that, because there's a lot of them here.
Okay, well, let's get started.
All right, so do you torrent any comics? I have torrented one comic in my life, and that was Death Note.
I didn't torrent Death Note. I got
well,
Death Note
I'm gonna
direct down.
I'm not going to say, obviously they're using torrent in the generic sense of download or scanslation.
I never use Well, actually, they could be specifically referring to torrents because I know that every week they put out torrents that have, for example, every Marvel and DC comic that came out this week and stuff like that. So no, I do not torrent any comics. I buy comics with money on paper, and I read web comics that are supposed to be free online, and that's it. I read the scanslations of Death Note back in the day, but I own all of Death Note now, so.
I guess part of it was that, one, the e-readers aren't there yet, and physical media are still better for reading comics, in my opinion. And two, scanslations are often inaccurate, kind of crappy in many times. 3, it's not like manga's that much money. 4, I haven't been excited enough about a manga since Death Note to actually want to go through the effort of reading it ahead of time instead of just waiting.
Yep. All right. This one is only to Rim, but I think I'm going to outlaw that and say everyone, we both answer every question.
How come for Wednesday, a lot of our listeners asked questions just to us? Because I noticed the next one's the same way.
Yeah, I think that might have been the same person asking both questions.
Might have been.
Anyway, Rim, even though it's spelled wrong.
How can you spell that wrong? It's in the feed. It's Rim's thing of the day every day. People email me. Anyway.
Who is your favorite character in all of comics, including manga, whatever? All comics.
I would say that's kind of a crap question.
Yeah.
That's like asking who's your favorite character in a movie ever. Or in a novel ever. Well, in that case, it's a cross between Horatio Hornblower and the Count of Monte Cristo, but I digress. In comics, I don't know. I'd have to say it's a cross between Ozymandias and Rorschach.
That's also a good one.
It's that kind of question is really hard to answer. I can just say characters. I mean, what? A character that I identified with the most? A character that I thought was an interesting character, even though oftentimes I don't identify with at all, or sometimes hate characters that I think are great.
Yeah, I don't even have Ryuk. Sure. Whatever. There, whatever.
So, Scott, if you were married with a child, obviously a hypothetical question, what anime character would you be proud to name your child after?
I'm not a freak, so I wouldn't name my kid after an anime character.
I think my answer is that if I had a child, their middle name would be Getterbeam.
Getterbeam? Not Rust Hurricane?
John Getterbeam DeCoster? Oh, yeah.
I don't know, Scott Rust Hurricane Rubin?
I don't know. When I was younger, in my teens, I often thought, if I ever have a kid, their middle name's totally going to be something from literature. And I guess you could include anime, manga, comics in that. And I think you could draw a name from that sort of thing.
Well,
It wouldn't be.
if I interpret this question differently into where I didn't actually have to name my child after an anime character, but sort of an anime character that has qualities that I would like, that I think are good, and I would be proud if my offspring grew up to be like that character.
Roger Smith.
Roger Smith's a good one. Togusa is pretty good.
Misato. I just really like Misato.
Takumi.
Well, yeah, because Takumi, he learns. He gets better.
Yeah, those kinds of characters. I don't know.
All right, let's move on.
If you had to pick up an underwear pervert title, which one would it be?
I would just be the Amazing Rim.
The Amazing Rim?
I don't know. If I was a superhero, my name would just be Rim. I wouldn't put anything in front of it.
Well, I'm currently purchasing, I think the only underwear pervert title I'm purchasing right now is Marvel Comics Presents, which is a brand new series, and it's one of those ones where it's not actually like a continuing thing. It's like an anthology, so it's like you get 4 random stories in it each month, and I always buy all those things because they never sell, and they always go out of print, and then they come up with a new one every few years, and I'm the only one who likes them, apparently, but I love those things. They're just random stories, hit or miss, random artists, random writers. It's like, woo, it's like a total grab bag, and I love that action, so...
I guess of all the underwear pervert literature in the known world, it's either, Watchmen or Batman the Animated Series.
Ah.
Because they said title. So I'm going with Batman.
Yeah, what they really mean is like a title that's currently coming out, and which you had to.
I don't care. Batman the Animated Series is like the best underwear pervert thing ever made.
It is, and I tried to buy an issue of Batman Strikes, which is sort of like the Batman the Animated Series comic equivalent. It doesn't measure up. Okay, have either of you seen the anime Desert Punk? I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I've also heard of it and not seen it. I thought for a second it was this other anime, but I don't think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Nope. All right. Do you have any interest in any anime coming out next season? How about the season just passed?
Let's talk about just, I don't know, very, very recent anime that we were excited about. Because I'd have to go with Bakano.
That's a good one.
I'm really excited about Bakano.
Yeah, so last season I would say Bakano, and this season I've yet to watch the first episode, but Gundam 00 might be the second coming of Gundam Wing, so that could be good.
Or you're excited about it because you haven't seen it yet. That's happened before. I'm excited about a show, and then
it's a Gundam show I haven't seen, and it's not Gundam Seed Destiny, so there's a chance it could be good. And if there's a good Gundam show, hooray! If it's not, I'll just won't watch it.
What was that show we were all excited about because we didn't listen to Emily and we didn't realize it was the same show? And it started out all abordage and samurai pirate fighting on the high seas and politics. And then it turned into Gay Samurai and nothing
cicadas?
More. Yeah, that show.
Something?
I was excited about that for the first 5 minutes.
And then it turned out to be like some BL thing. A guy harem instead of a girl harem.
It was a guy harem with all guys who like all guys.
All right. What do you think of controversial or taboo subject anime? For example, Koikaze or Kodomo no Jinkan, which I've never heard of.
I think... when it comes to any controversial media, I'm always of the mind that, one, freedom of speech. People, unless they actually harm people in the making of media, then there's nothing...
Like, it's a snuff film.
Yeah, then there is nothing wrong with making it no matter what it is. I don't think that any subject that could possibly be conceived of it should be taboo in terms of writing about it or expressing feelings or thoughts or ideas about it. But at the same time...
That has nothing to do with whether I'm going to like it or not, or whether I think that other people should watch it or not.
At the same time, I feel free to form opinions about people who enjoy such media.
I do as well. So... it pretty much comes down to, like you could even pick any taboo subject, like, murder or genocide or something, and you could have genocide be the focus of a comic or an anime or a video game or a movie or any art form that story narrative art form, and you could do it tastefully or tastelessly. And if you do it tastefully, then it might be enjoyable, and if you do it tastelessly, then it's crap, and I think anyone who, enjoys it is a pretty terrible person.
Well, it depends. Sometimes that goes over the line into hilarity.
It sometimes does. So it pretty much comes down to whether you do it tastefully or not, and that is sort of subjective, but there seems to be some sort of societal agreement on what's tasteful and what's not. For like you can have, you go to the art theater and you see a movie that happens to have a sex scene in it, and then you go to the porn theater and you just see, hardcore banging. There's a difference. They're both sex. They're both rated X or whatever, but one of them's tasteful, one of them's not.
So, what anime is your latest favorite? I'll assume that means just any anime, not just new stuff.
Well, latest favorite.
My latest favorite right now is I'm finally finishing up Master Keaton, and I'm finally finishing up Gankutsuo, and they're both the business.
I haven't watched anime in a month or two, I don't think.
In fact, actually, I've only got 4 episodes left of Master Keaton, and I'm really sad because I really, really like that show.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch it on the train sooner or later. I got to beat this Zelda game.
The only problem with Master Keaton is that I feel as though it peaked early, I'm not sure where the seasons broke up in Japan, but there's one episode called The Kali Man of the Desert, and it happens about 2/3 of the way through. I think it's episode 25 or 26. I don't remember, but good God, was that could have been the Master Keaton movie as far as I was concerned. That was everything that makes that show awesome.
Uh-huh.
But moving on.
Let's see. Oh, what are your opinions of theatrical releases of anime in the US or elsewhere? I like it when they put anime in a movie theater. It's one of the few times I'll actually get off my ass and maybe go to the movie theater, depending on the anime.
I've caught almost every major anime release in the last several years. I missed one in particular, but I caught everything else.
I gotta tell you, I didn't even realize the concept of anime in the theater until I think 2000, when I was in Israel and Princess Mononoke was in the theater there with, like English with Hebrew subtitles or something like that. I didn't actually go see it there, but I saw the movie poster, and I was like, oh, and some other guy on the trip had seen it, and he was raving about it the whole time. And, I like it when they put anime in the theater. I go see it. What other opinion do you want? I don't know.
I mean, it's great. See an
I think that they should market it more heavily and put it in more theaters. And they're like, oh, no one goes to see it. The theaters it's in are packed. You just have to push it out more, and then more people will see it. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
if you take the sales in the theaters it's in and multiply them by, the number of theaters in a wide release, that's a lot more money than they actually make.
Especially considering that they don't promote anime in theaters for shit, and it wouldn't cost that much to do it. And it's not like, oh, I just want.
All you got to do is put like the ad in the newspaper, right? In the movie section that says, "Come see this movie. It won a bunch of awards."
Yeah, and
Here's the showtimes.
You buy a couple of reviews in local papers. That's really cheap.
And then you freaking put like a commercial on TV during like the local news at night, like for a week.
I don't know. I don't want to get into our opinions on the anime industry in general, but I just think that I get the impression that most of the American anime industry is run by old school anime fans or new school anime fans, and they don't seem to have much business sense at all. And while maybe, it's a labor of love, they just want this stuff to come out, at the same time, they're not really doing anything to spread the genre. Well, not the genre, the medium.
Yep.
All right. This is a good one for Scott. What comic publishing company do you believe most reliably produces the best content?
This is a hard question right here because there are a lot of things. Like, I could say Vertigo, but the problem is Vertigo is not a publishing company. Vertigo is actually an imprint, which means it's DC Comics. They just put a different label to separate those from the DC Comics. So pretty much most Vertigo comics are awesome, but that's not a publishing company. It's an imprint. So publishing company, if you're talking about reliability, we have to go by percentage, like the percentage of the stuff they put out that's quality. So if a company came out with one comic and it was high quality, then they're the winner. They got 100% versus some other company that puts out 100 things and 99 of them are good. Then they're not the most reliable, even though they've put out more good stuff. So most reliably produces the best content. Well, the one that I know for sure is reliable is Vertical Incorporated, which is actually not strictly a comic publisher. They're a book. Basically, they publish Japanese books in English, but they're putting out all the Tezuka and the Keiko Takumi, and they never put out anything bad, ever. It's 100% across the board. So Vertical Incorporated. But there's a chance that Red 5 Comics could be the second 100% comic publisher. They are putting out the Atom Robo and such, by the Brian Clevenger of 8-Bit Theater fame. So you should buy that.
Man, the style of that, I mean, I like
it's
Brian
coming
Clevenger.
At the beginning. It's already in the stores now if you want it, but it's coming from me at the end of the month.
And I liked 8-Bit Theater a lot, but goddamn is that comic exactly what I want in
Imagine
comics.
like Indiana Jones with more badass and a robot.
A cool robot. Like, not
a wisecracking robot.
You're imagining a robot, and you're not imagining the right kind of robot.
No, you're not.
And this is pretty much almost the same
Spider-Man
question.
plus Indiana Jones plus robot.
Which comic book author is most reliably involved in the best projects? Osamu Tezuka, but he's dead. So living, Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan, he can right no wrong. All right, good. Now you can do this really long one.
During the last 10 years, the rate at which comic books are being adapted at audiovisual media has increased, and the audience consumption has grown, e.g., Spider-Man, X-Men, V for Vendetta, etc.
Correct use of EG. Good job.
Yeah. Do you think this signifies a change on the product side of audiovisual entertainment or on the consumption side of it? If those in charge of audiovisual entertainment keep producing comic book movies, will the audience keep watching it, or will they get bored and move on to the next fad?
Well, I point out that Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 didn't do so well and were crap.
I want to point out that the only thing that is to be learned from all these comic book movies is that, we used to joke about, like, oh, Hollywood's run out of ideas. They keep putting out No, they've really run out of ideas. They're basically, Hollywood has no writers left. They can't come up with a single interesting or new movie plot or script or what do they call it? Screenplay. I mean, they don't have any of them. So
there
all
are
they do,
exceptions. I think
very few compared to what it used to be.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but I would say that I think the general problem is that the Hollywood industry is, as it has been at many points in its existence, very risk averse right now.
Yep. So they're just, it's relatively easy to adapt, say, a comic to a movie than it is to adapt, say, a book to a movie, because you already sort of have like these storyboards done for you and stuff like that. And you could even do like a Sin City job where it's like a direct translation, So it's very, Hollywood people, they like to turn comics into movies, and they're optioning comics to turn into movies all the time, and it's proven to be a success in the past. So if it's proven to be a success in the past, they don't want to take a risk on doing something else, like writing a brand new screenplay. They'll do something that they at least know has kind of worked in the past.
Plus, remember, most people out there, the audiences, they don't know that V for Vendetta was a comic. They don't know that Sin City was a comic. No one knows that 300 was a comic.
Yeah, they might say, on the movie poster, like, based on the graphic novel, or...
No one looks at that.
They might, in the bookstore, people might see it, but the vast majority of people have no idea. Like, even if you put it right in front of their face. Like, what to say V for Vendetta, right? Right at the beginning of V for Vendetta, it says DC Comics. Most people, you say, hey, V for Vendetta, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that was a good movie. They don't even know this is a fucking comic. They don't know Alan Moore is. They don't know anything. So Hollywood people are just going to milk it.
So anime in the HD, DVD, Blu-ray versus the DVD format, worthwhile or not?
Well, first of all, I'm asking a question here. I don't know. But how many anime were actually made in HD? I mean, if the anime is not made in HD, like, I don't know, Akira was made on film, so you could transfer that to HD. But... say, an old anime that wasn't made on film for the movie theater, say Initial D. Initial D is not going to do any better
God,
in
Initial
HD.
D would look like shit in HD.
It would.
I like Initial D.
All right, Eric, Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop wouldn't do so well in HD. It's made for a TV screen. It's not widescreen. It's not HD. It's just normal resolution, whatever.
Well,
putting it on an HD DVD isn't going to help it out.
I watched some of the Bandai visual, like, check out how high quality this stuff is.
Oh, but that was Freedom. They were showing
but what I'm saying is
Freedom, which is made in HD.
What I'm saying, before you interrupted me,
right,
is that, I watched some of that stuff, and you know what? It didn't really look much better than all the... There's no reason to buy anime on an HD DVD.
I mean, we watched Freedom, right, the first episode, on a downloaded fan sub, so even less than DVD quality, and it still looked pretty fucking amazing. I mean, it was more amazing, admittedly, on the HD TV from the, at Otakon.
But
on
not
the little
really
screen.
Noticeably.
But not worth the price of an HD DVD player, an HD DVD,
well, look at this.
and an HD TV.
Unless you had them side by side, you would not be able to tell. And it's just... For anime, of course, I don't think it's even worthwhile for movies.
Me either.
Let alone for
Unless
anime.
the price comes way down.
Yeah, especially since anime tends to be a lot simpler, cell shading, that sort of thing. It's not the kind of thing that's going to be benefited in any way.
Yep. Except, Freedom is actually like one of the, if there's an anime that's going to benefit, that's going to be
Yeah, but what I was saying was it didn't really.
Yep. Okay, why is the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya so popular, and what is Haruhism?
All right, to the first part, I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of my friends have, and I've read about it, and I want to see it. It's just a really clever, funny, good show that's well animated.
And I think it's a show, from what I've heard, that is sort of, made to, like, target the fans right at the core, the same way that... a lot of video games, like, just they know their audience and they go straight for it with everything they've got. This show is like, we know what otaku like. Let's stroke every part of them that likes to be stroked, and this show does it.
So in terms of what is Haruhism, and I've also seen it written as Haruhiism. Now,
It's the same as Narutardism, only for Haruhis.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people trying to make it out to be something more, and unless there's some academic dissertation I'm missing, from what I can gather, it's just one of those memes where people kind of worship Haruhi in this kind of funny way, and it looks very 4chan-y, and that's all I really have to say about that. So, can you actually get caught torrenting anime?
Well, the first question is a technological question for Monday, which is, can you actually get caught torrenting anything? Which, technologically, yes, there are things you can do to make it harder for anyone to create reasonable doubt as to whether you were torrenting or not, and what you were torrenting and stuff like that, including encryption and proxies and who knows what.
Or even just reasonable. I mean, getting caught is not the thing. What I think you really mean is, could there be any consequences? And it depends on if you were torrenting something that has been released in the United States yet or not.
And it depends who is watching. For example, there have been in the past, I think the closest people have come to dangerous situations is when Bandai Japan said, do not pirate Solid State Society. We will come get you. Do not fan sub it.
But even then, there's not much they could have done, because being sued by a Japanese company when you're a U.S. citizen and getting to the point where they can identify you from an IP and all that, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems highly unlikely.
It is. There is nothing. It's not like, I can't say there's nothing to worry about, but if you just pay attention to anime news, at least the current situation, companies will make a threat before they do anything.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure there's nothing to worry about at all. The only time you would need to worry is if you were torrenting or pirating things that have been released in the U.S.
Yeah.
Straight
up. If
up.
you torrent fan subs and anime ski, I would say you're 99% safe.
If you're torrenting Trigun, well, one, you shouldn't be torrenting Trigun, and two, well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you deserve what you get.
All right.
Does the definition of anime include made in Japan, i.e., can something be made in the U.S. and be accepted as an anime?
You know what? I don't care about this anymore, because there's two camps and they're mutually exclusive. And on one side, they're the anime world order types who say, by definition, it is anime if it is animated and from the nation of Japan. And on the other side, there's people who say, it's just anything animated that looks like that, or it's just anything animated at all.
But then what if there's a lot of things that are made, for Japan. Like, look, Crayon Shin-chan doesn't look like anime style, but that's an anime.
Or even better, the word anime, or anime, is a French word that just means animation.
Well, in Japan,
also,
the word is, animation, and they just shorten it to anime.
But even better, in Japan, from what I gather, they call pretty much anything animated anime.
The Simpsons, if you go to Japan and you say, is The Simpsons an anime? They would say, yes, The Simpsons is an anime, because they don't have a different word for something from their country and something from another country. They just use the word anime for all animation, whether it's movies or TV or from whatever country. The only reason we use the word anime is because we like to make a difference between things that come from our country and things that come from another country.
Well, actually, no. I was going to say, because I noticed that this didn't really happen with French animation. It's just with Japanese stuff. And I think the reason is that for most anime fans, when they saw anime, it was just, in general, what they saw was very, very different from American media. The stories were just very different, and anime seemed like a genre to a lot of early fans just because the storytelling was a lot different, the visualization was a lot different. It was better in a lot of people's eyes, and they kind of associated all those things that they saw in anime as this kind of overarching genre.
And this is why these people became anime fans rather than fans of animation from around the world in general.
So the real answer is that it doesn't matter at all, and if you ever argue with someone over whether something is anime or not, you really need to get a life.
Yeah, I mean, just if you want, call everything animation, or start calling The Simpsons anime if you want to be really Japanese. But I guess the only thing I have to say is that as I like words to be useful, and if we have words, I like to give them the definition that makes the most sense in terms of using them in ways that make conversation easier and allow communication to be facilitated.
For example, the argument over, they decided that Pluto is no longer a planet. And there were people who protested this. And I think all of those people are categorically stupid.
Yep.
Because the reason Pluto is no longer a planet is because we've realized that there's a bunch of things that are bigger than Pluto or the same size as Pluto out there. And if we call Pluto a planet, then we either have to call all those things planets too, or the word planet now means dick.
Yep. So I like words to be useful. So speaking that we speak the English language and not the Japanese language, I think in English, we've taken a lot of foreign words like croissant, right? We don't say hooked roll or something like that. It's much easier to say croissant. So we can take words from other countries like anime and use them for our own purposes. And I think for the purposes of usefulness in language, I think it is good to use the word anime to mean animation from Japan or for a Japanese audience. It's the most useful way to use the term, and that's what I use it for, but whatever.
Like if someone says...
I'm not going to get hung up about it and go crazy.
Well, like a lot of people say, oh, Avatar is very anime-ish, or it's very much like anime. And you know what? That's kind of true. A lot of the elements of Avatar are very similar to a lot of elements commonly seen in Japanese animation.
Yep.
So in fact, I ran into a kid while I was at work, and he was playing the Naruto game, and I just started talking to him. He's a little kid, and I was like, so, what other cartoons do you like? He's like, yeah, Naruto, and One Piece, and Avatar, and he considered all three of those to be anime from Japan. And when I told him that Avatar was made in the U.S., he didn't believe me. He's like, Americans can't do something that good. And I just found that funny.
Yep.
All right, so if more anime could go in the direction that music has been, i.e. downloadable for a fee, again, good use of IE, correct? What do you believe would be the most profitable price per episode? Well, let's see, 26 episodes in an average series, $2.
It's close. I think right now I'm willing to pay like $40 for a thin pack of a 26 episode thing, but I'm getting DVDs, so it's gotta be less than $40 for 26 episodes.
See, I don't know. I'd almost be willing to pay a little bit more for the convenience and the fact that I can watch it as it comes out, and I don't have to deal with physical media, which I'm getting more and more sick of.
All right. But see,
at the
thing
same
is,
time,
I don't like. I would like. See, actually, here you go. Ready? Per episode basis, I say $5 an episode, right? But first episode is always free, and you can pay $40 to get the whole season.
Well, I'll go one step further, and I'll say that I don't buy anime. I
Netflix it all, right?
Well, that's the thing. I'm getting to the point, and it's not just anime. It's all media other than video games, because it doesn't really work with video games. But for all like movies and of any kind, I have no desire to buy anything ever, and the idea of buying a DVD is kind of abhorrent to me because it's just
like I don't
takes up
like
space.
Yeah, I don't like owning things. Taking up physical space in my house.
Not even that, even digitally.
If I'm gonna watch it once, why should I pay to keep it around on a hard drive somewhere?
I'm of the mind that I would pay to be able to rent digitally anime. The problem is renting is the same as owning unless you add DRM. But you know what? If anime were digital, I'd probably buy it if it was cheap enough, and then delete it.
Yeah, so it's got to be the equivalent price of Netflixing the series, and then I'd watch them and then delete them.
I mean, I only buy anything, any DVD if it's something.
But I do want to be able to download. If they're technically saying that I own them, I want to be able to download it again whenever I want, in case I want to show a friend or something.
Or in the very least, if it's no DRM, so I can back it up however I want.
Yep. Okay. Why do anime opening song lyrics never make any sense?
All right. Well, part of that is that most of what you're thinking about is either Englishy kind of openings, like the opener to Nana, which is just a lot of Japanese songs just kind of do that, and a lot of times the lyrics don't make any sense, particularly in just pop music and sadly a lot of J-rock.
Wait, listen. Think about some songs in the U.S., right? Like
some Britney Spears song.
No. Like songs that really they're concentrating on the what the lyrics are is the primary thing, and the music comes second, right? Like for example, Christian music or things like that, where they really want to they already figured out the words first and the music second. So what ends up happening is the music sort of suffers, and the words, they have to sort of gimmick the words around and like add in like syllables here and there to make it sound right and not be stupid or impossible to sing. Anime music, what they tend to do is rather than worry about what they're saying first and foremost, they actually worry about the music first and foremost, and as a result, the lyrics often suffer.
Actually, I was going to say that a lot of anime put out in the late 80s and 90s had openers that were basically just pop songs.
Yep.
Sometimes semi-popular pop songs.
That also.
Or songs that they were trying to then make popular. And like, for example, the opener to Dominion Tank Police in Japan is crap pop nothing. I kind of like the song.
Dancing cherry moon.
Do, 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 do. I like the song actually. Like it's kind of I could listen to it, but
that is also a problem of Japanese people writing a song in English because the English sounds cool, not because they know what the English means all the time.
But there are a lot of anime songs, openers and closers, where the lyrics, like for example, Gankutsuo, the lyrics.
That's written by a French guy.
Yeah, but even Jean-Jacques, what's his name?
Jean-Jacques Bernal.
Yes.
But
listen to that song, and the lyrics are basically, "Here's the plot of the Count of Monte Cristo."
Yep, but he's a very famous songwriter.
Yes. Or Utena is an example where it doesn't matter. Not so much the opener, because actually the opening, but the opening song to Utena. Actually, if you look at the lyrics, like they kind of fit. They don't fit perfectly, but they kind of make sense in the way that most pop kind of songs make sense. And the dual music usually doesn't mean much, but at the same time, it sounds really cool.
All right.
I don't have anything else to say. What is the average production value of an anime movie and series per episode?
I have no idea.
Fuck if I know.
Millions of dollars? It depends on the show. I mean, some shows are stupidly cheap and they spend nothing on them, and some shows they spend $1 zillion on, like Ghost in the Shell. And some movies are stupidly cheap and some cost $1 zillion.
And that's not even getting into the costs of, releasing things in America where no one ever says anything in the industry.
Count the cost of marketing or producing merchandise or all the, millions of dollars. There you go.
$5.
Why is CG used in anime? Anything that is CG seems that it can be drawn instead.
You can say that about anything.
Okay, first of all, right? You're watching an anime and you'll say, "Oh, that looks like CG," because it'll be like some 3D battleship or something like that. Do you realize that no anime that you watch nowadays, except for Sazai-san, is animated on cells? Everything is done entirely with computers. Full Metal Alchemist, whole thing's computers. Haruhi Suzumiya, whole thing is computers. It's all CG. The 2D is CG. Everything is CG.
So I think what you're saying,
all you're noticing is the 3D stuff that looks different than the 2D stuff.
And there are two reasons. One, a lot of times, especially in a lower budget show, it's a lot. If something's 3-dimensional or has to move 3-dimensionally, like really 3-dimensionally, it's a lot cheaper to make some CG than it is to animate that.
Yep. But if you watch some of the higher production value shows, say Ghost in the Shell, the 3D looks 2D. You won't even notice that there's 3D there. It's so subtle because they spend a lot more money on their technology. So the real thing basically you're saying is, I don't like it when they don't spend enough money on their 3D. And I agree. If someone's going to put 3D in their anime, why, you should just spend more money on it to make it look right and not stand out like a sore thumb like a Scooby-Doo. You're better off doing it 2D if you don't,
Right along those lines, what is your opinion on CG animation in an anime aesthetic-wise?
I like it when it doesn't Scooby-Doo.
Yeah? I mean, some shows use it really well. Some shows are...
Initial D.
Some, PlayStation 1 graphics for the win.
All right. In what ways is a manga better or worse than a novel counterpart? On the same note, what are the dis and advantages of an anime versus live action?
I could give a long, complicated answer, and I have a lot to say, but it really just comes down to it's a different medium.
Yeah.
And it's like saying... How would this painting
do in sculpture?
How would this painting do in Scrimshaw?
Yeah, how would this needlepoint do in...
a live action musical with a children's choir.
Exactly. It's like there's different mediums of art. You can express yourself in different ways, with ink on paper, with oil on canvas, with limestone on chisel, whatever. And there's different things to know about each medium, and they're all different. And there's disadvantages to all of them, and none of them are better or worse than any other.
I mean, I could say, because there's a lot of things to say. I just think
papercraft.
I just think it wouldn't be interesting to go through all the, in manga, you get to visually make the frame and make the scene, but in a novel, you have to describe it and leave it up to the imagination and blah, whatever.
I'm not going to go and describe the difference of every artistic medium ever. There's a lot of them.
Why do you think people generally look down on cartoons, anime, whatever? In Japan, I mean, it's not like everyone watches the Ghost in the Shell anime or anything, but it's generally kind of an American thing where cartoons are kind of looked down upon.
Yeah, in Scandinavian countries, Donald Duck is the business.
I should live in Scandinavia.
You should.
Everything's telling me to move there.
I know. However, it's pretty much in America, we have had a culture, and because of things like the Comics Code Authority and censorship on television, animation and comics and those sorts of things were generally relegated and culturally assumed to be mediums of art in which you could only create art for the enjoyment by children and not for any other demographics. And of course, that's false completely. You can appeal to any target demographic in any artistic medium. You can make papercraft for 1-year-olds or papercraft for million-year-olds. It doesn't matter. But because that was the way it was for so long, and because that was the the impression people had and sort of the dogma of the society, it stuck around. And now the old people, pretty much anyone 30 and older, and even people younger than that, even little kids nowadays, they think that cartoons are for kids, and some things are breaking that, like Adult Swim,
But at the same time, that's why a lot of 13-year-old girls are reading scary hardcore yaoi, and their mom has no idea.
Yep. So, as soon as pretty much when the old people die, that will be a thing of the past.
There's a related question right here. How would you change cartoons, anime, whatever, so that they would be taken more seriously? One, I wouldn't even bother. Two, I don't care.
The only way you could do it is with a massive, expensive PR campaign.
Well, no, I think the question really hits upon this. A lot of people who have like a Wii, it's almost like a lot of Wii and anime people have this almost inferiority complex of my thing is serious business and the world's got to take my business seriously and I got to get people to respect. And you know what? If I like something, I don't care if other people respect it or not. I like it because I like it.
Yeah. And short of a massive PR campaign, you got to wait till all the old people die. That's pretty much all you got.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I just read what the next question is.
Okay.
You can read it.
Let me find it. Hold on. Do you have been given an arbitrary large amount of money to create an anime manga comic?
Oh, I guess I skipped a part. I was looking at a different question. Anyway.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, because I was... Okay, I got it.
Good job.
What is the main purpose of hentai?
To beat off.
That is it just something funny and entertaining to watch with friends? Or are most people actually getting off
Most
to it?
people are actually getting off to it.
Yes.
Good God.
Now, hentai... See, you're asking what is the main purpose of hentai, which is... For perverts, hentai means pervert in Japanese, for perverts to get off. That's the main purpose. However, a side effect is that you can use something that perverts get off to in an ironic fashion to entertain yourself if you put it in the right context.
For example,
that is a side effect. That's not the main purpose.
I mean, the good thing is if you can always tell. You go to an anime con, and every big one, there'll be some sort of hentai showing or something somewhere. And... sometimes, especially if it's a bigger crowd, if you go into that room, it's mostly people like us, and they're laughing hysterically and MST3K'ing the whole thing. But every now and then, you go to a small con, you walk into the hentai room, there's 5 guys, and they're just watching it. And that's super creepy.
Super creepy. All right, so here's the reason I messed up in picking the right question. The next question is... do anime manga comics need to be taken more seriously? That is the lack of respect for anime manga comics a major problem with those media for you?
No, it's not. All right.
Now here's the question I started to read. You have been given an arbitrarily large amount of money to create an anime manga comic or to hire someone to create it for you. What is created?
That's a really difficult to answer open question. I couldn't say at all what I would do.
I couldn't pick just one, but I'll just pick something that happens to be on my mind lately. I would take the plot of a shonen fighting show, but make the fighting actual choreographed fighting like Cowboy Bebop and not stupid. I will use this technique, I'll use this technique, and it would be less than 39 episodes, and it'd be the best show ever.
You know what I would do? I can't say what the creative direction would be, but I would try to get together the talent of the world to create a new, good, serious, not really science fiction, but fantasy anime. Because there aren't a lot of really good, like, straight up...
Would it be more like a Slayers? Or more like...
More like Escaflowne, I think. Something like that.
Throw a robot in there, throw a little bit of school in there, appeals to the wide audience.
Something like that.
High-quality music.
Escaflowne is one of my favorite shows ever. The other thing, it's just out of the blue, I just thought of this because I've always thought about this. I'd either make a movie adaptation of the plot of Final Fantasy IV or an OAV adaptation of the plot of Final Fantasy VI.
I might also do something like an Akira television series to actually sort of adapt the manga.
That might be tough.
The correct way.
But if you had money.
Yeah. It says arbitrarily large amount of money.
All right, the next question is, what is the next step for anime? Where is the medium going?
It's not going anywhere.
Well, I think there are two answers. There's what's the next step as it should be, and what's the next step as it is. Because as it should be is the anime industry in America kind of coming together to try to mass market this stuff. And where I see it going is nowhere.
Yeah, it's just going to keep going as it's going.
I feel like it's kind of stagnating in the U.S., and it doesn't worry me yet, but it's not it's not growing. It's kind of like it's treading water, and that's all it's been able to do for a long time.
Yep.
And I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to start swimming, but no one seems to try. I mean, no one. When was the last time an anime company took a risk that wasn't a stupid risk?
No.
Yeah, I rest my case.
What's the next step for comics? Where's the medium going both artistically and financially?
Oh, this one's easy. Trades all the way, and I think issues are going to disappear.
I think it'll take a while because as again, all these people are holding on to it fiercely, and there's like a big tradition of it. But I think as time goes on, the issues are going to go down, and the trades are going to go up and up.
I also think the traditional idea of a superhero is going not disappear, because nothing disappears, but
Spider-Man will always be there. Don't worry, kid.
I just think that on average, that sort of aesthetic of, the costume-wearing superhero will disappear except in ironic senses, nostalgic senses, and Watchmen-style senses.
It might take a long time because we're going to have to, because basically things are being kept the way they are because the existing fan base, which is not really growing or shrinking so much, is sort of maintaining a status quo and holding on to it for dear life. But the only thing that's going to slow that down is when those people who have been underwear pervert fans since the Stan Lee days and continue to collect now and forever, when they actually, again, start dying or, stop collecting or whatever, and the people with this crazy collector's mentality stop doing it, then Marvel and DC and all them will be forced to abandon their superhero ways and try to do something new, or let the medium go by the wayside and become super niche, and it'll be just, indie stuff.
Because it's happening. The traditional comic industry is not doing well, and so-called indie comics and all these kind
It's doing better than it did after the crash in the 90s.
But that's not saying much.
Yeah, but it's not like some super mega bucks thing. It's just doing what it's always been doing.
So, how do you make a good webcomic? What do you look for in one? Penny Arcade?
Okay, how do you make a good webcomic?
I think there's... You want to go?
It's really easy.
I'm curious if you'll say the same thing I say.
All right. You need to have some sort of artistic talent or find someone with artistic talent, right? But it doesn't matter if your talent level is low as long as your potential is high. And, you need to find someone with some writing talent, but it doesn't matter if it's currently low as long as it has a high potential. And then you just need to keep making webcomics. Keep making them, don't stop. And whatever you do, improve yourself in art and writing in every comic. As long as you constantly improve, you will eventually have a great comic.
And case in point, look at the first year of Penny Arcade.
Go to the store and look at the Penny Arcade books. Look at the first one and look at the current one. They improved. That's why they're gods. Now look at something else like
You're trying not to name a certain comic. I know which one you're thinking of.
All right, fine, Mega Tokyo.
Okay, that's not the one I was thinking of.
It's improved some, but largely it's unchanged. The writing is just as bad as it's always been, and the art really hasn't improved. That means it's improved.
Sadly,
some.
You know what? Mega Tokyo started going in, I thought, a really good direction, and then I'm not sure where it went in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, got any other ones that haven't improved at all? What about that one you read, like CR?
College Roomies from Hell?
The one that looks the same now as it always did?
No, it actually looks super better compared to how it used to.
Oh, does it?
The first, year of that comic.
Bob and George never improved.
Bob and George was never good.
Well, it was. It was good.
No, it wasn't.
When they made jokes about Flashman and Quickman, and Woodman. Then it was downhill
Scott,
from there.
Those are the three examples you always give. Did they ever make a fourth joke?
Flashman, Quickman, Woodman, Heatman.
Did they ever make a fifth joke?
Airman.
No, they didn't.
No, Magnet Man. Snake Man.
That was dumb.
No, see, from then on, that was the beginning of the comic. It was all downhill from there. Luckily, the comic's over now.
Oh, God, that was a bad comic.
It was such a bad comic.
But in terms of specifics, I think a lot of people approach the webcomic world, I think, in the wrong way, and that you can tell a serious story, you can do a comedy, you can do whatever you want. But the thing with a webcomic is that whatever your update schedule is, one, it has to update consistently or people won't read it. Two, when you put something up, whatever unit you update in, whether it's a page, a volume, a panel, it doesn't matter. that in and of itself has to be enjoyable. I mean, you can't have like just the Wednesday comic this week doesn't go anywhere because it's just set up for the Friday comic. That'll kill a webcomic. Every single one, while it can tell a contiguous story and while it can be consistent, has to have something, one thing that happens, like one unit of progression, one unit of enjoyment, something that makes it stand at least somewhat on its own.
If you want to learn how to do that very well, look at Order of the Stick, because he knows when
that is like the best webcomic.
He knows when he doesn't have enough in his single page to really do anything on its own, and he'll do these multi-page releases so that every update stands on its own as something enjoyable.
Like, look, every Order of the Stick advances the plot a little bit, has a joke at like one main joke, probably a side joke, and some foreshadowing.
Yep.
Almost every single one.
It's a great comic.
Oh, it's definitely one of the top 2.
Okay, will Naruto ever die? I don't know. I don't watch the show. I don't read the manga.
I'll tell you
so how
this.
will I know if he's
the
gonna
character
die?
will not die permanently ever. I'm certain of that. At best, and I don't think this will happen, they would kill him at the end to save everyone. He'd probably kill himself, but that's beside the point. The show Naruto, the idea of Naruto, the reruns of Naruto, the fandom of Naruto, much like old generals and much like Dragon Ball, will never die. It will just fade away and then always exist at this baseline level forever. Not that there's anything wrong with that. All right. If you could ask Alan Moore one question, what would it be?
I don't really have a question for Alan Moore that's like, I'm dying to ask him. So I'll probably just ask him like, hey, why are you so crazy? Can you tone it down a bit?
Who's your barber?
Yeah. Or who's not your barber?
All right, I know what I'd ask the next one because they listed a bunch of people. Kazuo Koike, and my question would be, are you for serious?
Yeah,
Or are you just playing? Because
something like that.
I really don't know if the things some of the things he did, like if he knew how crazy and stupid they were. Well, not stupid, but just weird and scary. But I wonder if he understood what he was making when he made it, or if he was just crazy.
Stanley, who we actually...
I got to answer this one.
I know what you're going to answer. I want to
know.
say the same thing. But we saw, actually, at the New York Comic Con, we saw him from like 100 feet away.
We did. He was surrounded by this throng of courtiers.
Yeah, and I was just like, hey, I think that's Stan Lee. And it was. And then he hobbled away like an old man, which is what he is.
And my question for you, Stan Lee, what the fuck was up with you bolding random words? It's not like you bolded words that should have been in, because you bolded random words. Just randomly. What the fuck?
I would actually, sort of have a bigger question that includes the random bolding.
Oh, well, there's the other question.
Which
why did you use words you didn't understand?
Well, I'd basically ask him in general, looking back now, do you honestly think that your writing was high quality, or do you think it was, terrible?
He would say, yes, it was.
Yeah.
All right. Osamu Tezuka.
I don't even know what to ask Tezuka.
I wouldn't feel okay asking him. I'd ask him out for a drink because I think he's one of the... I have so much respect for the late Osamu Tezuka that, I just finished Apollo's song a little while ago, and goddamn. Also, as an aside, I just would like to say that I know a lot of you are listening now probably also listen to Anime World Order, and they recently reviewed Apollo's song, and I'm not gonna, rip into them or anything, but...
You're gonna wait until we review Apollo's song to do that.
What I would like to say is that I don't think they got it at all, and I really don't think they got it, and as a result, I think their review really didn't do that comic justice.
Well, I would basically ask Tezuka, greedily, like, hey, what was going to be happening in the rest of Phoenix, because he didn't finish it. I just finished reading what was created, and yeah.
Actually, I'd ask him if I'm right about Apollo's song.
Nah.
Though I'm pretty sure I am, because I don't want to spoil the comic.
Why isn't Tezuka more popular in the USA?
One, Americans, by and large, don't like comics. Like any kind of comic. Manga is popular, but it's not like the average Joe reads manga. And comics are so less popular than manga.
And Tezuka, being black and white and being so different looking than even manga-style comics.
Also... Tezuka's really disarming. You read a Tezuka like Ode to Kirihito or Apollo's Song or Phoenix, and it looks goony and lighthearted, but...
And there's jokes like every third panel, which are kind of random and blah.
Those comics hit on issues really hard that make a lot of people, especially in the US, really uncomfortable.
And I think the biggest thing is that really it's sort of inaccessible. Most of his stuff, he's got Phoenix is published by Viz. He's got a few things published by Dark Horse, which are kind of hard to get. and the rest is published by Vertical Inc. These are not easy things to get at. These are not things that are marketed widely or advertised. Most people in the country don't even know who Tezuka is. I think if people knew who Tezuka was, and they were like, they hyped him up as, with, again, a PR campaign, like, Tezuka is as good as Walt Disney. Oh my God, his stuff is amazing. It's so crazily popular. We're putting it everywhere. And if you give people the impression that it is already popular, then it will become popular.
It's funny. I was going to interrupt you, but I didn't because I had to sniff. And I would have said the exact same thing. If there was just a marketing campaign of Osamu Tezuka, the Japanese Walt Disney, the greatest comic author ever, and they just pumped it, Tezuka do great in the US.
Also, they're starting to colorize all of Tezuka's manga. The Tezuka.
I'm kind of really looking forward to reading.
Who
some
knows
of that.
how much it's going to cost when it comes out here? But maybe that'll help a little bit. I don't know.
All
right, crossover question.
Oh, I can read this one because it's long.
Okay.
You've expressed distaste for underwear pervert comics, but what do you think of underwear pervert video games? Do they suffer the same stigma as licensed branded movie video games? Have you paid, I guess he means played, any of the Marvel titles like X-Men Legends or Marvel? I know.
Let me answer.
I want to answer too, but you can do it.
All right.
You can go.
Okay, so there's nothing inherently good or bad about an underwear pervert video game. I mean, you make a good Spider-Man video game.
Sadly, almost no one did.
You can make a bad Spider-Man video game.
Like the Atari. Actually, I think the Atari 2600 is one of the better Spider-Man games.
The Sega Genesis one, where you have to take pictures of the bosses, is actually a really good Spider-Man video game.
And that's coming from me. I hated the Sega, but you know what? That was a damn good Spider-Man game.
Yep. X-Men Arcade, good game.
The walk across the side smashing things one.
Yeah, Captain America.
Nothing moves the blob except Cyclops.
The Captain America arcade game, also quite good.
But that X-Men Legends game, that game was crap.
It's just Gauntlet plus World of Warcraft.
One of our friends hyped it up like, man, this game is awesome. Check it out. Oh my God. And we finally played it. And I was like, it's just Gauntlet. It's better than Gauntlet at being Gauntlet. But that's like saying World of Warcraft is better than the Realm at being World of Warcraft.
Here, play Gauntlet. If you like Gauntlet and you like the under X-Men, then you'll like X-Men Legends because it's just Gauntlet with X-Men instead of Green Wizard and Red Warrior.
I think the worst thing is that the game has this leveling mechanic that was kind of cool. Grind aside, it was really cool, except half the powers didn't do jack, and it just wasn't fun.
And it also didn't matter. It's like you get skill points. It doesn't matter what you put the skill points in. You can automatically spend them. You'll do just fine. You can't lose. It's Gauntlet. All right.
Yeah, you really can't lose a Gauntlet.
So there's nothing inherently good or bad about a game that uses an underwear pervert license to try to sell itself. The thing is that, you can make a good game and you can make a bad game. Whatever. Okay. Would you guys be okay if someone would continue the Phoenix story from the 2 pages that Tezuka left before he died? Probably not.
I say yeah. You know why? That sort of thing happens all the time, and while it's effectively a glorified fanfic, at the same time, if someone's a good writer and they...
Well, I guess anyone's allowed to try it. Go nuts, do whatever you want. But I think the odds of someone doing it well enough to the point where I would respect it and consider it to be the actual continuation of Phoenix would be
I wouldn't. I would consider
almost nothing.
I would consider that to be a work in and of itself. Kind of they took this core story and everything that they knew about it and they just wrote something based on it. I think it's like an adaptation.
Yeah, let anyone try. Go nuts. You're free to do so. Artistic expression. But
what would it take to get anime, quote, mainstream, unquote, recognition in the U.S.? Why hasn't this been done yet? Real simply, it wouldn't take much, and the American anime industry is run by morons.
And the other problem is that they have to take a big risk and spend a lot of money on marketing and PR.
They take risks on stupid things, but they don't take... And also, they're so secretive. We talk about that a lot.
Okay.
I'll ask this one, because we both have a lot to say about this one. Why do DVDs cost so freaking much in Japan?
People in Japan are dumb, and they're willing to pay a lot for DVDs.
Well, I think the Japanese anime industry, well, really just media in Japan, they kind of... for a long time took advantage of the Japanese people. And I don't know if I think there's a lot of reasons, but it ended up that they priced things very high and people were willing to pay it. And as a result, the prices stayed really high. And then Japan tried to sell stuff in the US and the US said, $40 for a DVD. So Japan started selling, they licensed it so that DVDs would be cheap in America. But then Japanese people started re-importing because they're like, how come that DVD is $20 American in America and $80 American here?
Yeah.
So as a result, they don't license stuff to America right away, which hurts the American industry, which makes the licenses worth. It's like this cycle of crap.
Another thing is that in America, you realize, DVDs sell a lot, maybe because they have lower prices, but also, I guess, because Americans watch a lot of things.
Well, I think the total output of shows that are then put on DVD in America is a lot higher than Japan total, just because there's a lot more TV in America.
Yep. I get
think
the feeling also that, anime is on TV in Japan, and I get the feeling that most people just watch it on TV, and that only sort of otaku are likely to buy it on DVD a lot of the time.
And I'd almost wager,
you get a lot less people purchasing. So, and they're crazy fans, and crazy fans are willing to pay more because they're crazed fans.
Yeah.
The kind of people who are going to buy Bandai Visual DVDs in the U.S.
So, when are you going to do Final Thoughts episodes?
When I rewatch anime series.
Actually, we're going to do one either next week or the week after, because there is one show
if we don't do it, oh no.
There is one show that we both remember enough to give our full final thoughts on, and Scott just has to watch Ava again, and Escaflowne again, and all those.
I'll tell you what, as
again.
soon as I finish Phantom Hourglass, I'll start watching Evangelion on the train.
See, at the same time, I was kind of waiting because I kind of want to watch it again too, and we have a couple friends who've never seen it.
Oh.
But at the same time, when are we going to get together and marathon anime? We don't have time for that.
No, it's not going to happen.
But yeah, I'm not. Should I say the title we're going to do final thoughts on?
It's up to you.
I think I should. Just if you're listening, we're very likely going to do a final thoughts on Trigun.
All right.
In the near future, because I think kind of like Apollo's song. I think a lot of people misinterpret what it was saying.
Okay. Do you think that nonfiction graphic novels, e.g., also a correct use of, again, the 9/11 Report, a graphic adaptation, will ever be a major force in the American comic book market?
I don't know. I think if comics became more mainstream, then things like that would become equally mainstream.
Yeah, I guess, there's another nonfiction graphic novel, The Plot by Will Eisner, which is sort of the true history of the, what's the stupid conspiracy Jew book? The Elders of Zion, whatever book. Yeah. I have that, and it's pretty good. Yes, there just really aren't that many nonfiction graphic novels out there, and I think if someone, came out with one with good timing, they hit on an issue that was very big at the time, and they did a very good job of it, and they market it properly, that they could, really make a big hit. There is definitely a potential there. Have I seen any examples? No, I haven't really seen anything that is going to make it happen. I don't think this 9/11 Report graphic adaptation did that well. I never heard of it before.
I've heard of it because it was all over FARC.
Oh, okay.
But along the same lines, how common are nonfiction manga in the Asian comic book market? I vaguely recall you guys mentioning something about a manga history of ramen.
I think they are more common than nonfiction is in the American comics market.
Broader answer is just that manga isn't like this special thing in Japan. It's just another medium.
Yeah. And there's nonfiction in it as well as fiction. I mean, I already know they have business manga, which tells stories about businesses, and I imagine there's historical manga, which tell stories from history pretty accurately. I'm sure they add lots of drama to really get people going on it and stuff, but I'm sure it exists. Everything else exists, so why wouldn't nonfiction exist? Okay, so this one is actually a Thunderdome. We should do another Thunderdome episode.
So you're skipping those other two questions?
Okay.
Now everyone's thinking, oh man, I want the Thunderdome.
Yeah, I'm skipping them.
Yeah, they're kind of crap now that I look at them.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
fine.
no, I'll answer. I'll do this one real quick.
All right.
What's the most you've ever paid for a comic anime manga and the biggest steal deal you ever scored? We bought all of Master Keaton for freaking nothing.
Yeah, that was pretty damn cheap right there.
That was so worth it. And the most was just in the early days, I paid some stupid amount of money for the VHS box set of the original Tenchi Muyo OAVs. It was $35, $40 a VHS.
I think for all 6 volumes of Akira, I paid full retail price. For anime, I bought all of Gasaraki on dubbed VHS. And for a single comic, I never really... $5 I paid for X-Men #1, I guess. But, I don't know. I guess I spent... like $30 to get like a hardcover, like book, like a graphic novel. But I guess those big red stars, the volumes, I paid a lot for those.
I guess one I could say, if you talk most expensive in terms of dollars spent per unit quality, I forget what it was called, but there's a picture of it in a picture I got from my mom of my bedroom when I was younger. And it's a comic, I think it was by Margaret Weiss, and it was something about dragons, so of course I bought it. And effectively, I paid infinity for it because there was zero content worthwhile in it, and I paid some amount of money. Good God, was that horrible. And I even I lied to myself and said I liked it because I didn't want to admit that I'd spent that money.
All right, the other question that we skipped, I'm just going to ignore because it's so generic.
Oh, it is.
All right.
All right.
So back to the Thunderdome.
Gonna read the whole thing? Just gonna
No.
summarize.
Who would win in a battle? Spike Spiegel in the Swordfish or Starbuck in the Viper? I don't know who Starbuck in the Viper
is a character from Battlestar Galactica, who in the modern Battlestar Galactica is a woman, but it doesn't matter. I think it's kind of cool they did that. But in both, Starbuck is a badass, one of the best fighter in space pilots in the known human world.
What kind of weapons does that thing have?
Actually, the Viper is fairly equivalent to the Swordfish.
Really? Because
Yeah.
the Swordfish doesn't really have that many weapons other than the big gun at the bottom of it, and which is kind of unwieldy. It's not really a gunship so much.
Let me put it this way.
So if she's flying in
She
some
is
sort of...
flying in the equivalent of an A-Wing with extra weapons. Let's say an X-Wing. An X-Wing.
Oh, X-Wing, freaking Wedge Antilles could own Spike in an X-Wing. I mean, Spike is a good pilot, but the Swordfish really isn't that powerful as a fighter. It's it has fighter abilities and it shoots its laser, but that's really all it has. And an X-Wing, which is actually a military vehicle, he'd be owned. He'd be toast.
But at the same
TIE fighter
time,
could take him out.
my answer I think is much more clever, and I hope everyone agrees.
All right.
So, and I'm not going to ruin Cowboy Bebop, but they kind of make reference to this in the first episode, and they bring it up a lot, and the movie brings it up like super. But Spike Spiegel, the only way he could possibly die is in a very specific situation because Spike Spiegel...
Well, it doesn't say he has to die. He just loses.
He can't lose.
In a battle.
He cannot lose. Because it's a space battle. You can't lose a battle like that and not die.
Yeah, you can.
No.
Your ship is damaged. You're floating in space, then someone picks you up and goes,
I don't think that could happen. I think
happens to Gundam all the time.
Well, Gundam's different. In the real world, I'm pretty sure your cabin would depressurize and you die immediately.
Well, you're wearing a spacesuit.
How does Spike wear a spacesuit when he's in his Swordfish?
Sometimes.
Does he? Think back.
Sometimes. He's puts on a spacesuit a few times. All right.
Yeah, I just don't think Spike could lose because of various plot. I think that Spike would just win due to some crazy thing. Starbuck would just go insane or something. I don't know.
Here's an easy question. What are the good and bad parts of Naruto?
Good parts, funny ninja school.
Funny ninja school, and the characters are really awesome, at least most of them. Bad parts, everything else.
Seriously.
All right. What point in your lives did you go from OMG all cartoons from Japan are awesome to anime jadedness?
Well, it's, people say, oh, you're jaded about anime. It's more that when I first found out about Japan cartoons, Japanimation, anime on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yep, me too.
It was different. And that alone made it amazing because it wasn't like things I'd seen before.
I mean, it's all relative, you see. So when I was watching, even though some of the things I watched were amazing, like, say, Galaxy Express 39 on Sci-Fi Channel, I was also watching, like, Fatal Fury on the Sci-Fi Channel. And it was relative to what I had already experienced in my life. And at that point in my life, the things that I had experienced in terms of animation were not nearly even close to being as amazing as Fatal Fury even. So that's why everything was so awesome to me early on. But as I watched more and more anime and more amazing anime, like the works of Satoshi Kon, Otomo, and Miyazaki, and reading manga of Tezuka, you can start to see when things are not so amazing because you've seen something even better than that. And that's when you start getting jaded.
It's kind of like once you ride the Millennium Force, the super bad roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like if you just
you're not going to have fun on the Blue Streak anymore because it pales by comparison.
Exactly. You go to the amusement park, you've never ridden a roller coaster in your life. You ride the 100-foot Twinkie, and it's awesome. Then you ride the 200-foot, and you go, holy shit. Then you ride the 100-foot again, you go, meh. That's how it goes. So when I first watched anime, it was the 100-footer.
All right. Should we end on this one?
Pick whatever you want.
Because we've gone about an hour as always.
All right.
And this one's what are your opinions on otakin?
What are otakin?
Or otakukin?
What are otakukin?
Oh, you didn't read that thread in our
No,
forum.
I didn't.
All right. Well, otherkin, therianthropes.
No.
people who think they're vampires or dragons or werewolves or anything like that.
Yeah, those scary people.
Well, Otakin, and this is a self-made term, but there seem to be a lot. And I read a few serious business writings from these people. They see manga or comics, or sometimes it's something else, and it's not like they identify with the character. It's not like they see parallels to the character. It's not like they feel a spiritual connection to like the story from the book. It's that they believe somehow that they are that character, or that their soul is that character and that book existed just to show them, or that book was written by someone who was channeled into their past life. And
they're nut jobs with psychological problems. Go see a shrink. End of story.
No, I think it's a much more interesting phenomenon because I don't think it's any different than all these other, the therianthropes and the
Those
other
people
kin.
are also nut jobs.
Well, no, what I think it is that a lot of people when they're young and they're going through puberty and just, young, becoming adults, becoming like adult sentient people, they have feelings that they don't quite understand or explain, and a lot of people attribute these to various things, but I think a lot of people attribute these to mystical experiences or to supernatural experiences or things along those lines. And I think at that point, when you're a very impressionable person and you have experiences like that, your experiences tend to be shaped by the things that you think about a lot or the things that are going on in your life. And I think this new phenomenon is coming out just because the primary audience of a lot of manga and comics these days are people who are in that time period. And all these kind of subcultures are psychologically almost identical. And I think it's just what you've come across.
Oh, in my armchair psychologist kind of way, I always viewed the people who think they're like, a furry, or they sort of, live in a fantasy world.
It's not hard to be a furry. You just have to like furry art.
I know, the people who actually think like I am a sea otter, and like they, that's really what gets them. I think that with those, my armchair psychologist opinion is that those people have a very poor self-image. So what they do is they replace the shitty self-image, which in many cases is they are a poor self-image, and I look down on what they really are as well. They're usually kind of people you don't want to hang around. And they replace their own self-image with this, other image that they like. Say that their favorite character from, some anime, and they say, I'm not this shitty, disgusting, smelly, stupid person that I am. I'm actually that other person that I really like. And they replace their horrible self-image with a better self-image, and then they sort of get self-esteem, but it's not self-esteem for themselves, it's self-esteem for what they wish they were, and this is why it's a problem.
I would say that for, I don't know, I couldn't give a percentage, but maybe half of them, I'd think that is probably a somewhat valid assessment, but I think what I said is, I think that
I say we're both not psychologists, so this is just, woo!
Yeah, that's our guess.
This is what makes sense to us.
What I will say, because that's my opinions, and not my opinion straight up.
I'm giving an opinion here, I'm not a psychologist.
Well, my opinion straight up is that it's almost more sad. And I think I was talking to Emily about this, and she brought this up a lot too, that if someone's going to have this kind of mystical experience or this this thing in their life, this spiritual idea, and they base it on a Japanese comic they read, as opposed to on something that just sprang from their creative consciousness, it's just like a one level down in terms of less sad.
Yeah.
I'd much rather someone believe something interesting that they made up than believe something that was just in a comic that some guy wrote to make money. I mean, I would ask one of these people, so I'm actually Superman from Superman. Mm-hmm. And if they think that's stupid, well, mirrors and such.
Yep.
All right, maybe we could do one or two more. I don't want to end on that.
Kettle, black? Okay.
Maybe. But my kettle is black.
All right, do whatever you want. Go.
You want to do another one?
Do whatever you want. It's up to you.
Where do I get a good supply of one-shot Western comics along the lines of DMZ?
Amazon.com or InStockTrades.com. Next.
Why is it that the uglier the person, the more sexual the cosplay costume they wear? That's not true at all. That's just what stands out.
Yeah, I mean, there are hot people wearing hot costumes, ugly people wearing cover-up costumes. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It's a totally mixed up across the board. It's just that when someone ugly or someone scary is wearing a particularly revealing and unattractive costume, it stands out like a big freaking sore thumb, and everyone notices it.
Don't forget that there's a large subculture of the ironically bad cosplay. A big fat guy who dresses like Sailor Moon.
But that guy's cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't don't just because you see someone in like a scary cosplay, don't judge them based on that. Now, if they also smell and tell you about their D&D character, then yeah, judge them. But if you see Sailor Bubba is an awesome dude. Seriously.
There's another question on here that has the same answer, which is, why are the vast majority of cosplayers people that I would never want to see naked? That's because those are the people that stand out like a sore thumb. You don't notice all the completely average-looking cosplayers because they don't stand out very much. They're just mixing in with the herd. You only notice the really hot ones and the really ugly ones.
Now, hot not as in sexually attractive, but hot as in, damn, that's a good cosplay.
Exactly.
All right, let's end on this because I like this question.
All right.
As of today, what is your...
Oh, I like the one above it.
Want to do both?
Okay.
All right, I'll ask this one, and then you do the other one.
Okay.
As of today, what is your favorite AMV, and what makes it so?
Da-da-da.
I have to say two. Because one is Hit Me Baby One More Time, set to Utena. It's not the Britney Spears cover. Well, not really cover, but original. It's a cover by a rock band. And I think that video, aside from one comedic insertion, is just amazing on levels that I really can't get into without derailing the show. It's technically excellent. The concept is solid. The song fits perfectly. And it's funny, but if you've seen the show, it's also really serious and really meaningful. It's just like the best AMV.
I will pick the Mamboleo.
The Mamboleo is just one of those perfectly executed, pump you up, so well done it's painful AMVs.
Yep.
In fact, that was the last thing, the last AMV I ever showed at the RIT Anime Club.
All right, here's the question
No, I got to say one more.
Oh.
I got to jump in. 25-25.
That's okay.
I think that is also one of the best anime music videos ever made.
It's a good one. I don't think it's one of the best ever.
I think it is.
Anyway. All right, here's a question that I could actually take up a whole episode with. If you could have any anime, manga, or video game mecha, which would you take? Now, this is a very difficult question because, do not be deceived, if you're going to ask which is the strongest, you could say Voltron, but that might not be what I want. With Voltron, I need 4 other people. What a pain in the ass, right?
Not only that, but, it's relative, because I would say that the only thing that could match Voltron would be, I don't know, the Ava.
Yeah, so, in an Ava, you don't want that either. That's not practical for everyday use.
Ava's great, and I'd love an Ava. Here's my problem with an Ava. That is not a world with Avas is not a world you want to live in.
Right. So we're assuming that we're going to live in the current existing world, only I'm going to have this robot. So, or mecha of some sort. So
in that case, I almost said Bokurano, but then I remembered.
Right. So you want to pick something that's incredibly practical and would make your life better. Like a Gundam would be a good choice. Because a Gundam is very practical for the normal world.
Seems to need no power.
Especially something like the Zeta Gundam, right? Or Freedom Gundam, which can fly into and out of outer space, and it can power itself and maintain itself. And,
I might go...
A punk kid, it's so easy a punk kid can fly it.
I might go with a Gaimalef from Escaflowne, because they just run on my soul or whatever, so they just work forever.
Right.
And I can fly.
Anything that requires too many people is right out, and anything that is sort of requires a power source, runs out of energy is sort of right out.
Wait, you know what? There's an obvious answer.
No, I have the obvious answer
The
already.
Big O.
No, the Big O's not so good.
Yes,
because
it is.
It's not sort of in your full control all the time exactly.
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's so cool that I take it anyway.
All right, I have the perfect answer. Now, the first answer, obviously, is the most practical of all mecha, which is the Valkyrie from Macross. It turns into a plane, perfectly, jet plane, or a robot, or the in-between, right? The problem is, it's just little old Valkyrie. It's not that powerful. I mean, F-16s or F-22s could come and take you out, so you're not really king of the world. Which is why the obvious answer is the entire SDF-1 Macross, which comes with a whole fleet of Valkyries. So you have no problems there.
But you complain about needing 4 people. Now you need
Because the SDF-1 Macross, see, that's if you want to fly it around in space and stuff. You need a whole crew and a whole fleet of people and everything, right? But if you're just sitting on the ground...
It's going to get full of dust. You're not going to mop that thing.
You don't need to mop the thing. It's self-repairing. It's self-powering.
Is it self-mopping?
Yes.
Where does it say that?
There's little robots that go around the ground and they clean it up.
And who maintains those?
They maintain themselves.
Oh, I'm sure.
It doesn't matter because
where does it get power from?
It does it itself.
Yes, it does.
It has a power plant. But it doesn't matter because
how you gonna fuel
it's
that?
just sitting on the ground on its own. It's like a city just sitting there.
That's
it's like,
so lame. You know what you just said? If I could have any robot in the world, it would be New York City, but just me in it.
Exactly.
That's lame.
It's awesome.
No, it's not.
It's not just New York City with just me
Fine,
in it.
you
It's
take
New York
that.
City with just me in it and 2 aircraft carriers full of F-22s that transform.
You know what? Then I'll take my big O and I'll punch your city up. What are you gonna do about
Your
it?
big O is like not even as big as like the pinky finger.
But
of
you
the
know what?
SDF Macross.
What are you gonna do? You can't pilot that thing by yourself. You can't even make it move. It's
I
just
can
gonna.
go up to the bridge and fire the main gun.
How are you gonna point that at me? You need a gunnery person.
No, you can
Yes.
do that all from one spot.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Watch those shows.
This is why this would take a whole episode to answer this. But SDF-1 Macross is the perfect choice. Either that or Super Star Destroyer.
That's not a robot.
It's a mecha.
How is that a mecha? That's a
It's
a
mecha.
spaceship.
It's a mecha.
It's a spaceship.
It's a mecha.
I think the definition of mecha is has arms.
Super Star Destroyer's arms. Fine, Death Star. All right, we're done. This could take a whole episode.
Yeah, suffice to say, there's another hour of questions that we'll do at some point. You'll hear them someday in the future. Good night. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.